Okay, this is Moshe coming to you from Israel in the Galilee. It was cold last night. Today's Tuesday, 15th of April. It's almost 10 o'clock in the morning here, 9:54. We're slowly coming out of this cold nighttime stuff. We're at 63 now. Our high will be 71, but that's not enough to really warm the house up because the houses are made all out of concrete and tile. And it's going to be 50 degrees tonight. See, so it's going to cool the house off, but then 78 tomorrow. Now that'll warm us up, but it takes 3 or 4 days. Then we hit 85 on Thursday, but the low is 56. Then we hit 89 on Friday with the low of 62. 89 on Saturday, a low of 62. Then we start dipping a little. We go down to 84, and then next week, a week from now, we're supposed to hit 90 and then stay in the 80s. So it'll be kind of idyllic weather. So we got another day or so with this nonsense of freezing. My hands are cold. It's really cold, Last night, Beulah, a.k.a. Houdini, had to get up and go to the bathroom about 1:45. So I went and let her out. And then Mommy woke up and said, well, I got to go too. So I let her out. And then the two of them thought we were going to have a party. Hey, why don't you order a couple extra large meat lovers and we'll play games, in the middle of the night, So I had to convince them both to go back to sleep, and they did. And Beulah Houdini did not get out again yesterday, so I think I defeated her. I listened to the Lord about the twist ties, and that stopped her pushing the door and squeezing through. And then I didn't listen about the garbage bags. I did. I took the garbage bags out there, and I didn't know what to do with them, and I gave up on it. And she kept jumping out. So I went back there with the garbage bags to block what she was climbing and jumping over so she couldn't see what was there. And that stopped. I believe we're in good shape now. So pray that I get my sink fixed. It's backing up with water a little bit. And the guy's supposed to come over here to fix it. And I haven't heard from him yet. And I don't know what's going on. We tried fixing it with some kind of Drano type product and hot water. And we got it a lot better, but it's still, it drains, but it takes a few minutes. And if you really load it up with water, it could take, 2 hours or something. So I need him to get over here. And I don't know what he'll do, but he knows how to clear it. I'm nervous about the dishwasher. But we only run the dishwasher twice a week because I don't use a lot of dishes. But anyway, that's what's going on. Now, we're praying for MB, the spouse of EB, and MB died. He had a accident with some, you guess you could call it construction equipment, and it mangled his limbs, arm and a leg, and he was rather old and he didn't make it. So pray for EB, a morning prayer for peace, comfort, joy, relaxation during this troubled time of the loss of a husband. Thank you. EB is a faithful follower and a spiritual warrior and a prayer warrior, and it's what happened. So, okay. My tooth, the one that was troubling me, is pretty good. I mean, it's quite good, real good. And no magnet or anything. And the The other side, the upper one, is not really hurting. It feels like there's pressure on it. I don't know what it is. I'm told, because I had a lot of crowns put in. Um, when I got back from Israel, living here the first time, and I was making a lot of money in the US, I went and got all my teeth fixed. I got the mercury fillings out, and they put the crowns in with some gold in there instead of mercury stuff. And what I'm told is as you get older, your um, crowns loosen and then food gets stuck in between and things like that. So please keep praying. I'm not in pain. I just feel that it has some pressure. And I might use uh, the magnet later for a little bit of time, see what happens. And I hit it with some red light and infrared light this morning. It's not painful, but it's just a little concerned about it. It might not be food stuck in there that I'm not aware of. It might be um, just inflammation from chewing, and not really that, just being tender. And it's on top of where the crown got a piece that is no longer in the center of the crown. So it could be that the bite alignment's not right. It could be causing it. I don't know. But I still have a little piece of something stuck in the gum there. I thought it went away, and it's still not there. I'm going to have to go to work on it with a tweezer or something very carefully and get it out of there. Maybe that's doing it, because it's in pretty much that location. So I appreciate your prayers for my teeth to calm down and settle down and stay that way. I thank you for that. What we're going to cover today is Trump is turning against Israel regarding Iran, not regarding the Houthis, regarding Iran, and not regarding Hamas, not regarding Hezbollah, and sort of with Syria and Turkey. I'll explain that to you. But definitely turning against Israel regarding Iran, and we'll have a deep dive into that, and I'll explain it to you. I'm also going to explain to you the taking down of the MQ-9 Reaper drones, which are not very stealthy, and I'm going to explain to you how Yemen, or the Houthis in Yemen, are doing it with Iran's help, and we'll get into that in detail because they are taking them down. I think they're $30 million a throw, or 13 million, very expensive. The rumors that you're hearing, Elon Musk said we've saved enough money with the DOG and our government to, give everybody $5,000 stimulus or something like that payment. And if you run the numbers on it, it comes into the trillions of dollars. It's never going to happen. There's other people saying Social Security is going to go up by $500 a month. I don't think so. They might bring Social Security up maybe $200 a month, because Biden was being a real butthead about it, and was underpaying the people to meet inflation. They may come up with something like that. They probably will, but it's not going to be that catastrophic. But if you take 140 million people collecting SSI, like the disability and Social Security and that sort of stuff, and you give everybody $200 a month more money, you really are stimulating the economy, no doubt about it. But it's not going to be taking the pressure off the people that much. But when you run the numbers, if prophetic time allowed for it, which it won't, over a year, they would get $2,400 a month more, and it would make a difference. And it would stimulate the economy. But giving them $5,000, that wouldn't be for every person in America. It would be for every taxpayer and every Social Security recipient. And that would be, probably approaching $1 trillion, not exactly $1 trillion, probably getting up near it. And I don't think they're going to do that. Would they maybe do $2,000 stimulus? Well, they might. instead of paying people $200 a month more, they might just flip them $2,000 at one time to jolt the economy. They could do that too. But that's about where it's at. If they even do it, if they may not do it at all, or they might say next year we'll do it, which is ridiculous because there's not going to be a next year for them. But moving along, North Korea is building a missile launching ship with vertical missile launch tubes that's going to run 140 or 143 meters. It's approaching 500 feet. So it's a very, very large boat, and its warships usually don't get more than about 350 feet. Maybe they could hit closer to 400. This is quite a large warship. Now, aircraft carriers go 1,000 or so feet, but this is a rather large ship, and it could probably launch a lot of missiles. And the thought is Russia's helping them with this, but how long it's going to take them to build this ship moves it out of the realm of something we need to dwell on. America warships, they probably take 2 years or 3 years or something like that. They're not going to get it out. We're not going to see this in operation. You can forget about it. Prophetic time. America is flying reconnaissance aircraft over North Korea now. There's probably something brewing, maybe another missile test, or who knows what. They're also flying reconnaissance drones in the Gulf of America, Gulf of Mexico previously called, and they seem to be maybe focusing. They're looking for something, maybe in Venezuela, maybe in Cuba. I don't know. People monitor EAM messages. I've followed this off and on for years. It's nonsense. You can't get anything out of that. They don't know what's going on. They count how many EAM messages there are in a day, and they say, wow, this is really hard. You don't know. And then they talk about B-1, B-2, B-52, they call them nuke bombers flying around America. There's several channels on the social media that just do this, and people are just fascinated by it, and you don't get any information. Listen, don't B-52s need to practice and fly? Don't the pilots need to get out there and qualify and keep? Of course. Why are they deploying nuclear bombers around the United States? So they could get a quick launch off of these things? I don't think so. Yeah. A B-52 is not a supersonic plane. So, it's going to go, what, 500, 600, 700 miles an hour max? And it's going to take a long time to reach Asia and, Eastern Europe. So, what are we talking about here? They've got these assets deployed in Europe, in Guam, in South Korea. What's going on with this? It doesn't add up, People are taking, isn't it a reality that they have to have practice drills and runs with the pilots and the planes over America? Of course it is. So you got to, people are searching for anything except trusting in God. Now they'll verbalize trusting in God, but they are not really trusting in God. They're trusting in man. Okay. And all you got to do to reveal that is talk badly about Trump and see what kind of blowback you get. Some of the so-called survivalist prepper gun people and are talking badly about Trump now, and people are giving him a lot of blowback. The scripture is, cursed be the man that trusteth in man. And we're going to break down in a deep dive how Trump is turning against Israel. And he is. He's not at this point looking directly to punish Israel, but he's looking to protect the American interests as he sees it, the MAGA stuff, and will throw anybody under the bus, allies or not, like Ukraine, Israel, anybody, Canada, UK, EU, anybody. He doesn't care. All he wants is his economy going. There's a conflict of interest. The guy has many billions of dollars of investments in America and around the world, and he doesn't want to see them get wiped out. The Secret Service is not allowed to protect his golf courses in Scotland and his castles and mansions in Europe and his expensive condo projects and country clubs. They can't protect them. They're not allowed to. If he goes there, yeah, they can protect him during his visit, but when he leaves, they don't leave 200 agents there to patrol the place. And 200 agents for a huge golf course country club is not a lot. They're not all on duty at one time. You might have 40 or so on duty at one time. And you're patrolling many, many, many acres. You know, you've got gates, you've got perimeters, you got his apartment, you got all kinds of stuff. I mean, then you got to have intel behind it. It's not so simple. You got to have people in a room monitoring cameras, and maybe it's not 40, maybe it's 28. I mean, but it's a tremendous amount of money. And what has he got? 15, 18 properties around the world? They can't do that. Aside from they don't have the manpower, it's not allowed. It's not him. They protect him. Now, do they protect his apartment in New York? Yeah, because he goes there frequently, I believe. So they probably have people there monitoring cameras, and maybe in the apartment or in an office somewhere in the building. And I'm sure they have sweeps of the apartment. You know, they got maids in there keeping the place clean and stuff. Yeah, that they do because he uses the place. They don't want anybody planting bugs or bombs in there. And Mar-a-Lago too, and maybe another house he has they watch. But that's in America. And they're not going to watch 18 of his houses. Maybe 2 or 3, you know. That's it. I do believe the guy has a yacht someplace. But I never see pictures of him on the yacht or using it. So that's probably docked up someplace secure. And they, probably have pretty good protection around the yacht. They might keep, 1 or 2 guys on the yacht to make sure nobody gets on it and, bugs it or plants bombs or blows it up or destroys it or something. They might do something like that. And his aircraft is probably in a secure hangar somewhere on a military base, locked up in there. So that's how that's probably taken care of. Nobody's going to get in there. That's not authorized. So, they watch stuff, but they don't go all around the world and do it. The other problem is they don't have that kind of authority when they go around the world. Okay? So if they're in another country, and they're protecting him, they got treaties where they could carry their weapons in the other country and stuff like that, But I think when they're off shift and they want to go out to a restaurant and eat and go shopping or be a tourist or something like that, I don't think they're supposed to carry their weapons. Now, that could be country specific, but I don't think the hosting government or the American government wants to see them get into a gunfight with some muggers and you shoot them in the head and then all the publicity. I don't think that's going to go on. And by having them leave their guns when they go out, they are going to be very careful about where they go and what they do in a foreign country. And they're not going to go to any areas that are ill-advised to go in, stuff like that, So But if Trump's not there and they're just protecting a golf course, country club with townhouses and all that stuff, why would the country let them carry weapons of all different types, sniper weapons, pistols, shotguns, rifles, whatever? Why would they let them have weapons around the property? They would just tell Trump to get private security from companies operating in their country. See what I'm saying? So if you think there's no conflict of interest between people like Elon Musk and Trump that are billionaires, you're very, very wrong. Very wrong. And we're going to talk about the ceasefires failing. Putin and Ukraine don't seem to be getting anywhere. Witkoff spent 5 hours with Putin the other day in Moscow trying to get a permanent peace or ceasefire deal with Ukraine, and nothing that I know of. The latest peace deal with Hamas in Gaza that America was, trying to initiate fell apart already. So none of these ceasefires are working. And it's not working with Yemen. And it's not working with Iran. You watch. It's not going to work. They're meeting again next Saturday in Oman again. They were going to do it in Italy. Now it's back to Oman. And Trump is already getting irritated. He's saying that it's, a long time. He doesn't like these preliminary discussions happening once a week, but he's buying time too. And I covered that yesterday with the weapons systems of Iran. And then we're going to talk about how the Houthis are knocking down the MK9 Reaper drones. So, and we'll bring Bible prophecy up wherever we can get it in there, where it's relevant. So I'm going to go into the live stream. And make sure we got a live stream, put my posts up, and we'll get going. And some people go away when I put my posts up. Tough on them. They don't really care to listen to it anyway, so let them go away. My putting posts up is very, very fast, by the way. I'm getting quite a bit of false news. Those that know me know I don't have false news. I live in Israel, and a lot of my news comes from Arab and Hebrew social media, okay? And it's not the news you get. That's the disconnect. Not that I have fake news. People who know me know the news proves true. I just get it a lot earlier than other people do, and I get a lot of news they don't get. No, it's not fake news. Prove it is. Okay. I'm going to get my posts up very quickly, and we'll get into the deep dives here. You can feel free to post questions in the live stream, or the chat rather, and I do try to answer them during the broadcast. Okay, and you can put prayer requests in or toss requests. That's okay, and I do deal with it. Getting my posts up. All I got to do now is put my email address up and we'll get going. Someone posted something. USS Liberty. Well, if you hate Israel, that's all that is. Well, in Israel, we get news about the Middle East. And as you notice, I don't do much news about Asia Pacific or Ukraine, Russia. Okay? I'm mostly Middle East. A lot of false on the U.S. What specifically is it that you say is false on the U.S.? How do I know you're not a troll? I've never seen you here. How do I know you're not a troll? What specifically did I say that was bad news or fake news about the U.S.? I'd like to hear it. No, you accused me. So do you have some specifics? If you do, please put it up so I could defend myself. Let's see if anything goes up. You're just a troll. Okay. Being a Bible-believing site, Old and New Testament, I'm going to do some praise. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 If that person wasn't a troll, they surely could have come up with one or two mentions of what they consider fake news. I said about the U.S., right? They had to be thinking about something in their mind to make that comment, right? No, it was just lies. Never heard of that person before. Okay. So let's talk about the MQ-9 Reaper drones. Because they took the Houthis in Yemen, took one down again yesterday. Okay. And how this is happening is this. The MQ-9 Reaper drone is not exactly a stealth drone. They do have a stealth drone. I think it's an MQ-1. It's way more expensive, could be $100 million. And when they launch these drones, they usually use an MK-1 stealth drone that flies high and coordinates with the other drones, okay? But the MQ-9, how are they getting it? They have these missiles that obviously they got from Iran. What do I mean when I say they got from Iran? Well, Iran either just flew them in or put them on a boat and brought them over there, or Iran sent technicians, advisors, etc., into Yemen to help them build a factory modeled on the Iranian factory. teach them how to make the product, assemble it, and get it, calibrate it and get it to work. These things are rather sophisticated missiles. The Houthis can barely read or write. Okay. So, no, the bosses, the generals, yeah, they can, but the others, and not really. Have you ever heard of Yemen winning a Nobel Prize? Have you ever bought a vehicle, TV, an oven, a wristwatch, a camera, a phone, anything like that from Yemen? No. They don't make stuff. They make cars, they make motorcycles, they make planes. No. They're just people that belong in a psychiatric hospital for the criminally insane. The scripture is they'll kill you and think they're doing God a favor. And they're nuts, okay? And all they are about is weapons, and Iran helps them. Now, the people in Iran are very much unlike the people in a lot of the Arab countries. You may not know that Iran is not Arab, it's Persian. They're different. Name one Arab country in the Middle East that ever won a Nobel Prize. I couldn't think of one. Can you? Lebanon, Gaza, Jordan, Saudi, Oman, Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar. I can't think of a single one. Do any of them make good televisions, good phones, good cameras, good wristwatches, good motorcycles, good planes, good cars, good boats? Anything? Washing machines, dryers, anything? Computers? No. They bring foreign workers in to run their oil fields, to build the refineries and the wells. That's how they do it, guys. And they keep them there. And they get paid well. And they build it and they get the pumping going for them and they reap the profits. They don't do it themselves. These people are not smart people, as evidenced by what I just told you. They don't know what they're doing. Okay? All right? So Iran is not that way. Iran tests their kids in school, and when the kids come out high on academia testing, they push them where? Do they tell them to go out and become pharmacists, doctors, lawyers, college professors? No, they push them into the weapons manufacturing. And they get paid well. Okay? That's how it works. That's how they do it. Okay? They don't do anything, You ever buy an Iranian car? Like, you ever see like an F-150 type product from Iran, or a Honda motorcycle like coming from Iran, or an aircraft? I mean, would you get on, if Delta or United had Iranian passenger jets, would you get on it? I'd be pretty hesitant. Would you buy an Iranian computer? I mean, you get the idea, guys. It's all about death with them. That's all it is death. They fight amongst each other. The Sunnis and the Shiites and the Alawites and the others, they go around killing each other. The Druze, the Bedouins, they go around killing each other. The Houthis are threatening Saudi Arabia heavily now. They're both Arabs, they're both Muslims, but the Saudis are more peaceful Sunni, and the Houthis are more warmongering Shiite. So they fight. This is common. Azerbaijan and Armenia, the Taliban in Afghanistan, and Iran don't get along. I mean, Iran threatens Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, to some extent Oman. They're run by pig dictators, calling themselves emirs, supreme leaders, kings, princes, you name it, right? And they pass the country on to their children like you might if you owned a grocery store. And you got too old, you retired, and you gave the keys to the store to your kids and said, okay, it's your store now, right? That's how they do it. It's a company store. Saudi Arabia is so arrogant, biblically speaking, Saudi Arabia is Audi. It is Arabia, I'm sorry. And it's also called Dedan, Dedan in the King James at times. And that's a part of Saudi Arabia. So, and what they do is they call it the Saudi, which means it belongs to the Saud family, which is the royalty over there that run it. Okay. It's their company, it's their business. And it happens to be a country, but it's their business. And a lot of them spend time out of the country whenever they can. They go to Switzerland and they go to England frequently. And they have beautiful, lavish mansions and, they like that sort of stuff. They have yachts the size of cruise ships they go cruising on. There's not much to do in these Arab countries, except the UAE. UAE has recreation stuff, but there's not much going on for them. So it's the company store. They try to get away whenever they can and go to other countries. Some live in America. Foreign workers with skills, they need to pay well or they won't come there. Who wants to live there? 120 degrees during the day. You want to walk around in 120-degree weather? In these countries like UAE, for instance, you can't go outside in the afternoon until the evening. It's, maybe by 1 or 2 o'clock, you could be at 111, 118, stuff like that, where you're going to go walk around, go sit outside, go to the beach. No, you got to go indoors with air conditioning. And then when the sun goes down, the temperatures drop. So the temperature may not really be dropping much until 7:30, 8 o'clock in the summer. They close the stores in the afternoon for a few hours. I'm not sure how many. It probably varies. People will tell you in the UAE they don't even lock the doors to the stores because if you steal, they can cut your arm off or something. I don't think that's true anymore. Maybe years ago, I don't know. I really don't know. It may or may not be true. So the Iranians got technology. Okay, do I think the Iranians could make a car or a computer or something like that if they put their minds to it? Yeah, probably. Okay, but they don't put their minds to it. They're demented. All they want to know about is killing. Okay, after they got finished killing all the infidels, which would be Christians, Jews, atheists, Hindus, Buddhists, then they would start going after the other type of Muslims. There would be very few people left in the world when they got finished. They'd probably get rid of about 75% of the world, 80% of the world. And they're happy if you do a forced conversion. In other words, you got to live like a dog in the country unless you become a Muslim. So they turn around and say, okay, now I'm a Muslim. And then they get elevated up, Satan takes people any way he can get them. So these missiles they have are launched and they can loiter. They don't have much of a range, these missiles they use. They have a range of about 20 miles, maybe a little more, 25, something like that. Not much. But they can loiter. They can hang around in space, up in the air, like where the birds fly up, well, maybe higher than the birds. And they could hang around for perhaps 30 to 60 minutes. So when they're expecting reconnaissance from the Americans, which would precede bombing attacks, which for about a month now come every night, they guess or guesstimate where the American drones would likely be loitering, well, looking for targets to get target packages for the strikes at night, right? So what they do is they launch these missiles that loiter in the area, but they launch them around different places in Yemen, wherever they're worried. And when their radar picks up a missile, they can direct the drone at it, the loitering missile at the drone. Drones don't go that fast. These missiles go Mach 1.5, which is rough cut about 1,000, 1,100 miles an hour. Okay. And they tag the drone and blow it up. No, America just puts up with this. They're afraid of the MK9 because it could carry missiles, specifically Hellfire missiles, which is like a targeted assassination device, right? So they shoot it into a car or something like that, or they might shoot it through the window of a house, even if they can get it in, which they might be able to, probably can. And it's a kinetic destroyer. The impact of a missile kills you. It's not that the missile hits and has a bomb that blows off. So they could use it in a congested area a lot more safely. They just fly the missile into a car, for instance, and most of the cars there are not going to be Cadillac Escalades and Lincoln Navigators. They're going to be small, a small Citroen, a Fiat, or something like that, right? And the missile hits it, and it, breaks the car up. The roof caves in, the metal pieces. It kills them. Israel uses them, and it's pretty good for target assassination. So they're taking these drones down, and America's response to it pretty much is, well, we just pull another drone out of inventory. I think they've gotten about 17 of them since America started messing around with Yemen going back to the Biden days. So it's something America is just putting up with. And America has used B-52s in Yemen and B-2 bombers out of Diego Garcia in the Indian Ocean, along with everything else, F-18s, F-35s, probably F-16s, F-15s. I've never heard of a Reaper drone, an F-22 rather. I've never heard of the F-22 going there. I never heard of a B-1 going there either. But they're very effectively bombing Yemen. The problem is Yemen has a lot of stuff underground. Last night, they hit a factory in Yemen, and the Houthi said they hit a ceramics factory. Well, what this is Yemen, or the Houthis in Yemen, build a factory, and then they'll put a sign on it that this is the flower pot factory or something like that, right? Or we make coat hangers, or we make baby cribs or something like that, right? And when you walk in the office in the front, they might have some flower pot samples sitting around and this and that. But when you go inside, they might have a little room, that's 10 by 12 full of flower pots, and the other 32,000 square feet are making missiles. Okay, that's what they're doing. So America blows it up and they say, well, it was a ceramics factory. Yeah, right. Yeah. So America got nothing better to do than act on crappy intel and fly very expensive planes with very expensive bombs and jeopardize the pilots and everything else to go blow a flower pot ceramics factory up, right? Yeah, that's how America got to be America, by being stupid. No, I don't think so. Let me take a look at the live stream. I do try to do this and answer questions. Somebody from Yemen won a Nobel Peace Prize in 2011. Well, that's not inventing anything. See, I was talking about, but I did mention Nobel Peace Prize, but I'm talking about inventing things predominantly. They could have made a political decision. One second. That's my guy for fixing the sink. We prayed about that, huh? He said he could come Thursday. What am I going to do? I'll wait till Thursday. I can manage with it now. Somebody sent me an email that's titled Persia Now. This ought to be choice. It's SMS, rather. This ought to be choice. Hold on. Let's see what this says. It might be funny. Oh, it's spam, I'm sure. Oh, it's some ad for some kind of insurance or something. They were being clever to get people to read it. Nobody's going to take them seriously, though. Nova Scotia, great. Okay. So there's a real problem with Yemen and taking out these Reaper drones, and America is bombing factories where these missiles are made. They're trying very hard and they're doing it appropriately. But the problem is Iran will send a cargo plane over there every week or two or whatever, full of, it'll show that they're bringing in coffee or tablecloths or something like that, and it's going to be more of these missiles. See, so the only way you're really going to stop Yemen from getting missiles and drones is what America was talking about last week, but I haven't seen it go into action. And they were talking about putting a blockade on Yemen. That would mean they wouldn't let aircraft in and they wouldn't let ships in. And the Saudis wouldn't let vehicles in. Then they continue bombing until the Yemenites, well, until the Houthis run out of weapons. But then the Yemen army pops up the other day and says, we're going to do a recruiting drive and bring in 80,000 more soldiers. And then we're going to de-weaponize and get rid of, stop the Houthis. Well, what's wrong with this picture? First of all, I'm surprised because I think that Trump's administration is actually respecting this and buying into it. All right, let's do a breakdown of this. Okay, you want to recruit 80,000 soldiers. Yemen doesn't have 400 million people, so that's a lot of soldiers. Okay? The Houthis outnumber the Yemen regular army 2-1. Okay? And Yemen army is about 67,000. So they want to bring themselves up to about 150, 140,000, which gives them a few thousand more soldiers than what the Houthis have. Of course, they have better equipment than the Houthis. They have better bases and things like that. Better training. So how long does it take to draft or enlist 80,000 people? Not a week. It'd take you, 2 months, 3 months, right? Okay. How long is training? Well, basic training is generally 6 to 8 weeks. Well, you can't turn them loose with basic training only. What the heck are they going to do? They know how to make a bed. They know how to run. They know how to get through an obstacle course. And they know basic rifle tactics, shooting at basically stationary targets, You've got to give them more combat training. You've got to, because a lot of the fighting, if they ever do this, would be door to door. You've got to have mock villages with houses and buildings and stores and warehouses and different things, and teach them tactics as to how to go in a facility. And what about an underground facility? How to do that? They got to learn tactics, like what to do when somebody fires at you, what to do about mortars, what to do about artillery, what to do about drones, what to do about everything, machine guns, 50 cals. So let's be real. Let's say that they might bang them out and counting basic training in 3 months. Now, that's not a very advanced infantryman. So, it's going to basically take you about 6 months minimum to recruit them and put them in the field. Let's be real. Okay? That's the solution the Yemen government is coming up with, probably to prevent a blockade. Will they ever really do this? Never. Never. Why? The Houthis will kill their wives and children and parents and brothers and sisters and everything else if they try doing this. That's why. It's just like in Lebanon with the Lebanese army. For months now, they're supposed to be stopping Hezbollah. They don't do nothing. The last thing they did is they occupied bases in South Lebanon that the Hezbollah had, but they abandoned the bases. If they stayed on the bases, they get bombed. So they moved into it's just another sham, guys. It ain't going anywhere. And I'm not really sure Trump's buying into it because he's continuing to bomb them. But I don't know why they don't blockade him. But I do. I really don't, but I do. because Iran's going to challenge the blockade and say, we got the right to go to Yemen and blah, 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 right? So what's Trump going to do? Shoot down the Iranian plane, and then Iran sends over a period of 72 hours 6,000 missiles at oil refineries in the Middle East, Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, and also targeting American warships, American air bases and infantry bases in the region. Now America's in a war with Iran, but Iran probably has between 250,000 and 1 million missiles. I mean, 250,000 is extremely low. Lebanon probably had that much. They probably got between 500,000 and 1 million missiles of various sorts and genres. Okay. They go for a long time. These 12 or so underground missile cities are built into the side of a mountain with massive amounts of rock on top of them. They find natural caves, they go in there and start there, and then they build down. They're typically about 1,640 feet into the mountain. So it's like that doomsday bunker America has in Colorado that they fly the president and the vice president and those people into in the event of a war. You can't get it. Well, they got 12 of those. And each one of these has about 12 entrances / exits. Same thing, entrance, exit. So you can do things to it. But this is why Trump's delaying the war with Iran. The Americans realize their 30,000-pound bunker buster bombs ain't going to do it. They've used these in Yemen. And I think with limited success, if any success. Now, can they send 8 or 12 in sequence at one of these mountains to break the underground missile city and built into the side of the mountain? Yeah. But does anybody know if it would work? I don't think so. I don't think this was ever tested. Can they get a computer model on it? Yeah. Would you want to bet heavily on a computer model? It's what's called a priori, before experience. They don't know. So that's why Trump is backing off on Iran, because Iran's missile cities have the ability to shoot missiles out like a semi-automatic rifle loads bullets, or maybe a machine gun that's belt fed, an old 30 caliber World War II machine gun. And the missiles just get auto fed into the launchers and keep firing. And they got lots of launches and lots of missiles. Okay? Lots. Hundreds of thousands. Now, when you open up this missile city and you start firing, is it going to be a dead giveaway to the Americans where the missile city is? Yes. They'll know exactly where it is. Will they come over there and bomb that missile city? And when it's open, so the launchers can fire, you can't fire through a mountain. You got to open it up. So that, mountains have slopes, so they build it into the slope. So they probably have a cover over the part that slides open where the launches are. So they open it up and they start launching, but it's like machine gun launches. Got it? So then you've got to get your GPS coordinates, and you got to get your planes ready. You got to give them a target package. They got to get in the plane. They got to take off. They got to fly over there, and then they got to start dropping bombs on it. So what would you think? You got 2 hours, probably, maybe 30 minutes. How much damage are they going to create with 12 missile launching cities pouring missiles down on oil refineries and American and British military bases in the region? They're going to not open all of their 12 or so missile launching cities at the same time. They'll do them one at a time. There'll be a constant rain of missiles for days. Then they got ships that launch drones and missiles and look like container ships and other things. Then they got at least 1,500 go-fast boats that can shoot anti-ship missiles, torpedoes. They have a heavy gun, maybe a 20 millimeter, likely a 50. They could also carry armor-piercing RPGs and shoot at ships too with those. Those will create a lot of damage. They can take tanks out. They're going to create damage in ships for sure. They got over 1,500 of these suckers. They could carry them on bigger ships and launch them in the water. I mean, the other day they deployed 250 of these at the Straits of Hormuz at one time. 250. So you're going to take 3 or 4 8-10 warthogs and start blowing up 250 boats that are all going to scatter in different directions and spread out when trouble comes. The boats have no anti-aircraft systems. They're usually a 60, 50, no, they're like 60 to 90 foot boats, like an old PT boat. They generally launch their missiles off the bow of the boat, the deck of the boat. And then when it gets in the water, so they have to point the boat at the U.S. destroyer or aircraft carrier. And they have to get within a few miles of the thing. I would say their max is 5 miles. It's probably less. It's probably 2. Now, that's a tricky thing to do. But you got to remember, how do you take out a go-fast boat? You're not going to hit it with a torpedo very easily. First of all, it doesn't go deep in the water. Secondly, it's they move. These boats go, some of them goes, they're civilian vessels converted. It's very common for them to go 50, 60, even 70 miles an hour. That's on the high side. 50, 60 miles an hour is pretty okay for that. That's not an easy target to hit. You're not going to torpedo the sucker. You're not going to hit it. They'll see the torpedo. They see the torpedo. They take the wheel. They go like this. The torpedo misses them. Let's say it's a guided torpedo, wire guided or something like that. So then they got to redirect. But they're not going to hit it. I mean, occasionally you might get a lucky shot in, but they're not going to hit a small boat like that that's extremely maneuverable and fast. Not going to get it. Can the warthog get it? Sure. It locks its gun on the boat and it starts firing and shreds the boat. How many can the guy get? After he shoots one, he has to circle back, finish it, start a new pass to go after another. He can't go sitting there flying in the air, go like a go-kart or something like that. It ain't going to work. What about anti-ship missiles? Well, it's a rough shot. It's a small target, highly maneuverable and very fast. It's not an easy shot. Will they get some? Absolutely. Absolutely. If the ships get close, will the phalanx get them? Well, not if the ship's close, because the phalanx guns don't go down into the water right near the boat. They could go out at distance. And the range of the 20 millimeter gun is 5 miles. So the phalanx might be able to shred these boats if they're out even as far as a mile or maybe even at a half a mile. But if they're within, 100 meters of the boat, the gun don't go down that low. A mile, and probably even a half a mile. So, yeah, you're going to take these boats out, but that's not what Iran's trying to do. Iran knows some of their boats are going to be taken out. They might launch 60 boats and an aircraft carrier or 100 at one time with drones, with missiles, the whole thing coming at them. And if they put, let's just say, 50 boats on the aircraft carrier, their mindset is if 4 or 5 get in, they're going to destroy the aircraft carrier. But the reality is probably 15 or 20 will get in. So you can take out all their radar first. You can. But while you're taking their radar out, what are they doing? They're launching out of their missile cities, lighting the Middle East up, hitting American bases, killing servicemen, destroying weapons, destroying aircraft, and blowing up the oil refineries of a number of Middle Eastern countries, which will cause your oil to go from $60 to $120 overnight, and then probably to $180, and then some people say it'll go to $500 a barrel. I don't think so. I think it'll go probably around $200 a barrel. It may get higher than that. So if you're paying 2.5 times more for gas at the pump, how many people in America you think can't afford to go to work? Well, Trump has to release oil and subsidize it. He could do that. But then a lot of other countries that are dependent on American oil aren't going to be able to get oil, like the European countries. So they get some oil from America, or Russia cuts them off, and Iran cuts them off, and and then what? So if Trump does this, there's going to be havoc in the world. If Trump doesn't do this, the Iranians are going to, so to speak, make a nuke. But here's where Trump's turning against Israel. The latest BS on the talking about the nuke stuff is Witkoff is talking about monitoring how much Iranian nuclear material is made and allowing them to keep their nuclear facilities for civilian purposes. In other words, making electricity. And that goes back to the 2015 deal, which I think was with Obama. And it was a lousy deal because right after it, Iran just said, no, you're not monitoring us. Get out of here. Okay? And the same thing's going to happen again. And that's the direction Witkoff is going right now. He said, well, Iran could have nuclear material as long as it's being used for civilian, power generation, power plant making, and it's monitored. Who's going to monitor it? You think Iran's going to agree to it? They never really did it before, except briefly. And what about their 500,000 or million other missiles and drones and drone launching aircraft carriers and missile boats and container ships that launch missiles out of containers that are disguised as container ships? And there are 1,500 or more go-fast boats and the submarines. Trump and Witkoff seem very comfortable with that because they don't have anywhere near the capability to lob missiles into America thousands of miles away. And that leaves Israel in the lurch, doesn't it? It does. What do I think's going to happen? I think that Trump, we saw him attack the Houthis every day for a month now, right? So let's not run around. Let's give Trump credit where credit is due. Let's not run around and say Trump's a whoosh and he just bluffs and never attacks. Not true. He'll attack. Will he attack Iran? I believe he will. Why? because he's going to realize it's impossible to get anywhere with Iran. I don't think he really believes that. I think he's trying it. In the meantime, Trump, he's going to try to get this deal to work with Iran. You never know, maybe it'll work. But it'll never work. It never has, and never will. They're not going to give in. They just sent their foreign minister. He's going to Moscow before the next meeting on Saturday. What's he going to Moscow for? He's going to sit down with Putin and ask Putin how to negotiate with Witkoff. He's going to ask Putin, what kind of weapons can you give us? How can you help us against the Americans? What should we do? How much time should we try to buy and stuff like that? It's war on the brain. It's not advice. It's war. Okay? You have to understand that. Okay? And Russia is not that interested in seeing Donald Trump dominate the Middle East in oil. Russia and China are attempting to dominate it through Iran. And they're terrifying the other countries in the region. They're saying, if you help the Americans in any way, like let them fly over your airspace to attack us, do takedowns of our missiles, or help them in any way to attack us, we will attack you. Well, American planes and all sorts of weapons are in the Middle Eastern oil countries to the tune of 58,000 soldiers. They're in Kuwait, probably about 5,000. Bahrain, I don't know how many, but that's a big Navy base for America, quite a big one. Qatar, a big air base for America. Jordan, they got several bases in Jordan. UAE, they got some like 3,000 to 5,000 in UAE. And in Saudi Arabia, they got tons of soldiers. Well, not that many soldiers, maybe a few thousand, but they got a lot of assets there. Oman, not so much. Yemen, of course, they don't have anything. Lebanon, they don't have anything. Turkey, they have just the Incirlik NATO base, which is not really Turkey, it's NATO. Iraq, they have actually a base or two inside of Iraq, but they're very small bases. You know? So Iran won't blow up the Iraqi oil because that's their puppet state. They won't blow up the Yemen oil either. But they are threatening through the Houthis to get the Saudi oil, and that they can, the Houthis can hit Saudi Arabia oil refineries. They've done it twice in the past with missiles and created damage. And they could hit it with multiple missiles and drones and knock it out of action for 6 months. If they just do that, you're going to see $60 a barrel oil go to what, $90, $120 in a heartbeat. That's the biggest oil refinery in the Middle East. Now add in hitting, Jordan and the UAE and Kuwait. But yeah, you're right up to $200-300 in oil. And you're going to collapse the economies of the West. And that's going to hurt the Trump and Musk world empire because you're going to create economic chaos around the whole world. Africa, Central South America, Asia, everybody. Oil moves things by train, by boat, by aircraft, by car, by motorcycle. You get restaurant deliveries on a motorcycle, right? And every other way. Trucks, of course, cars, trucks. Everything's going to go up in price. And, if you're buying a loaf of bread, I don't know what you pay, $2. Let's say you pay $2 a loaf of bread. Okay, I just picked a figure. It's not going to go to $3.50. It'll go from $2 to maybe $2.23. But your eggs will go up 20 cents. Okay? Your ground beef will go up 20%, 20 cents. Your green peppers, your potatoes will go. everything's going to go up 10, 15, 20, 30 cents, right? At the same time. And your home heating oil will go through the roof, and your fuel for your car will go through the roof. Your electricity bills will climb, all at the same time, all over the world. And Iran will continue to get oil. China will continue to get oil with a sweetheart deal. And if these Arab countries throw the towel in and join BRICS and not sell oil transacted in US dollars or euros, they'll be safe from the likes of Iran and Russia and China. They'll be in the club. And that breaks the back of America financially. And that's what Trump's worried about in the long run. BRICS would be selling oil using the BRICS currency, not using the US dollar or the euro. And who's got the oil to sell? Well, Iran and Russia. And Russia lost probably 30% of their oil refineries thanks to Ukraine blowing them up, but they rebuild them. It may not take long to get a rebuild, so they might only be down 15, 20% or something like that. So they could still sell oil, and Iran could still sell oil. And once they're not using the SWIFT payment system, the sanctions are rather meaningless unless Trump decides to put a blockade on Iran and interdict all the ships to make sure they're not breaking the sanctions. And that would be a big, bold move. So Trump keeps flying cargo planes into the Middle East. Now, what does that tell me? Well, first of all, the cargo planes have diminished in the number. They've sent so many in. They're just, fine-tuning their weapons packages. And also defensive systems. But it also means Trump has not given up on attacking Iran. But he can't do that much. Let me give it to you again. Unless Trump's people at the Pentagon and the private sector develop another kind of bomb to penetrate these mountains, maybe they get an 80,000-pound bomb and they put molybdenum and titanium and all that stuff on the head of the thing, and they drop it from 38,000 feet, or they don't even need to do that. They just drop it at any reasonable altitude, and it comes down and burrows down through the rock in the mountain. If they could ever develop something like that and then blow up, they could take out these underground missile cities, but they can't do it otherwise. And they could develop a bomb like this. And it wouldn't be a lot of technology. The bomb doesn't have complicated electronics that they don't already have, and missile guidance systems they don't already have. They just got to get the thing to penetrate deeper. Maybe they'll use a drill or something. I don't know what they can do. And there's always there probably has to be at least a 30% chance that it may never work. You may actually need to have a bomb that's 100,000 pounds, which maybe that's what they'll come up with or something. I don't know. Or it might not work. Boots on the ground is out. The way Israel dealt with this stuff is we have these things called sponge bombs. You drop them with precise bombing at the exit/entrance of the underground facility the enemy has, and it blows up like a sponge absorbing water, and it puts this stuff in the entrance that's hard as a rock that clogs the entrance and the exit. Now, that could be deployed. America's sending 3,000 more bombs to Israel. This was released yesterday. 3,000 more bombs, but they didn't tell us which bombs. The implication is bomb, 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 Iran. Or it could be to finish the tunnels off in Gaza. We don't know. Or maybe for something in Lebanon. Or maybe we're going to start taking out the Houthis. I don't know. So what Trump can do, and I think this is where it'll go. Iran sees America as weak right now. Okay? And Iran will push on America hard because they see weakness. And they see Trump has a marked reluctance to get into this war. What could Trump do? Can Trump take out the Iranian radar and impede heavily their ability to launch missiles at great distances? Yeah, but I still think that Iran has a lot of ways of delivering missiles to the bases that America has and the oil refineries these countries have in the Middle East. They'll do it from Iraq. They'll do it from Yemen. And they'll do it from ships and drones and everything else. Yeah, they'll get the bases. And they'll get the oil refineries and collapse the economy. So what could Trump do? Well, it's the same old thing. Yeah, you take out the radar. Then you take out their airstrips. Okay? You take out weapons storage facilities that they have, that you have a chance of destroying. Then you blow up the ports and the piers that Iran has where they offload the oil onto the ships and sell it. That shuts the Iranian economy down. And you blow it up, it's months to rebuild it. Many months. And you could stop right there. Just use stealth jets, blow up their ports, their piers, their refineries, and stop. And the Iranian economy is finished. But they're going to start launching like crazy. So you also have to destroy all their warships, and you have to destroy their missile cities as best as you possibly can. Now, what if China and Russia come over there with several naval vessels, maybe 6 of each country or 10 or 12 of each country, and they let the Iranians launch missiles and guide the missiles with the radar on the warships? Well, that's sufficient. That's not going to be sufficient to go hit Israel, but it'll be more than sufficient to hit Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, Jordan, Saudi, and so forth. So you do that. So Trump is between a rock and a hard plate, and they're at a stalemate. They got a gun pointed at each other's head. Trump can blow up the electrical plants in Iran. Easy. He can take out bridges, railroad tracks. He could take out numerous airports. He could take out their ships. It would just be a matter of time. Every one of their ships would be in Davy Jones's locker. No problem. Okay? If he wants to bother blowing up their junky aircraft, he can, but it's a waste of bombs. And attack military bases, intelligence gathering centers, and so forth, and then just stop. And Iran has no economy and no power and no this and no that. And that might be what it very well becomes. Breaks Iran. Iran's just not going to agree to what Trump wants. Okay? He showed weakness as they interpret weakness. The weakness is that Trump didn't bring all these bombers and warships into the region and not attack Iran. It means to the Iranians that Trump's afraid to attack Iran. That's the Middle East, and people that haven't lived here for a while aren't going to understand it, but that's the reality of it. And Iran is going to be pushing very, very hard against Trump. And the deal's not going to work. Look, ceasefire peace deals are not working these days. These are end times. Wars and rumors of wars. We're still getting a small amount of wars, but we're getting a large amount of rumors of wars. I better check the live stream. I do try to answer questions, and I do try to get rid of the trolls with the nasty comments. I don't know. People just love going around making nasty comments. Nobody pays attention to it. It's just ridiculous. Hawaii has a volcano or something erupting, but I don't know what you're worried about. Zuckerberg is building a bunker in Hawaii. Yeah, Iran has small submarines too that can lay landmines, and that would cause to direct American warships towards certain passageways which they could attack. But America has anti-mine vessels, minesweepers, and I don't think that's a major headache for America. Okay, I don't have any questions. Most of these trolls coming in here are children, by the way. That's all you immature children. You could imagine what kind of parents there must be behind this, where these kids get pleasure out of going into strange chats and writing obscene comments. And they find that pleasurable. You can imagine the parents. Imagine what these people are going to grow up to be like if they ever grow up, which I doubt they will. I don't think there's enough time prophetically. You know what I didn't do yet? I didn't do the prayer requests, and we have a lot of them today. Let's go through those. For DT Delta Tom, DT Delta Tom or Delta Tango healing. There's a cat named Molly, Molly, that's I think ran away. We do very good with prayers for animals and pets. So let's pray for Marley, Molly, Molly, to return home safe and sound for Molly. JN, Juliet Normandy, JN, Juliet Normandy. Pray for a place to live and get stabilized and know what the Lord is showing this person. To have peace and calm. So I'll repeat for JN, Juliet Normandy, pray to get a good place to live, get stabilized economically, and know what the Lord is showing this person and why, and have peace and calm. Okay. Once again, EB, Echo Bravo, husband died suddenly from an accident. Pray for a mourner's prayer. peace, calm, joy, relaxation. Get on through life. Okay. CG, Charlie Girl. CG, Charlie Girl. Healing for the heart and the eyes and general healing. So, healing for the heart, the eyes, and general healing for Charlie Girl, CG. We have a toss request for KB, Kilo Bravo KB, toss request. RG, Romeo Girl, RG Romeo Girl, pray for healing from the flu. Healing from the flu for RG Romeo Girl. SG Sierra Girl, SG Sierra Girl, peace, joy, and health for SG Sierra Girl. MC Mike Charlie, MC Mike Charlie, to connect with parents for MC. Boy, that's the most amount of prayer requests we had. Part of it is because I forgot to do some of them yesterday. I'm sorry. Temperature records are being broken around the world on regular basis now. It was recently 80, I think the other day it was 89 degrees in Siberia. Siberia is frequently minus 20 or below, minus 40 even. But we're not in the dead of winter, but it's not really warm season in Siberia yet. To hit 89 would be a very, very hot day for them in July. Not very, very unusual, like a record breaker, I think. Earthquakes and volcanoes are still increasing. Okay, they're heavier than they normally are. They're quite active right now. And of course, there's still a large amount of fires in America. Trump is now putting tariffs on products imported to the United States by category of the product. He did automobile tax, right, on all foreign cars imported into America. Now he's coming up with a pharmaceutical tax. He's telling the people, well, there'll be a tax on all pharmaceuticals imported into America. And he's doing that on other items too. So it gets less political blowback than putting tariffs on a specific country. So he just tariffs the item no matter where it comes from. It generates money for the U.S. for sure, and it doesn't create the political blowback. Again, it just shows you when it comes to economics, Trump is very, very, very competent. Trump cut out Harvard funding for $2.9 billion. So let me tell you, I had no idea they did things like this. And they gave billions to Columbia University. All this does is, who do you think they're giving scholarships to? Nice people that pray every night before they go to bed and don't, take drugs and lie. No, they're giving them to Satan bots that are going to get out there and they're going to work as lawyers to ruin your life. They're going to work as politicians to ruin your life. They're going to work as the heads of companies to ruin your life, and on down the line. I mean, did you ever dream America was giving billions of dollars a year to a number of universities that are just turning out the leaders of industry and politics? The scum of the earth, that's what they do. You think I'm wrong? Come on, you know I'm not wrong. So while Trump is preparing to attack Iran, Iran is preparing to counterattack as well. They're both preparing. So I think they both know it's not going to work. But Iran's buying time, and what the smart money is saying that's because they're trying to build more radars and more anti-aircraft systems to hope to take down the American jets and mitigate the damage that can be done. I think they're both wrong. They're going to both create tremendous damage. What Iran is saying, and they're profound liars, is that they just completed 900 air defense systems that will be deployed in Iran. 900? Okay, I could buy 90, not 900. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's 300. They're trying like heck. That's why they're buying time with Trump. And Trump, I believe, is buying time because he's looking for a solution as to how to attack Iran's missile cities, because once they let loose, the oil refineries go, his military bases go, he's going to lose some warships, and what he's going to be left doing is decimating Iran. Okay? There's going to be no power, there'll be no water, there'll be fires that can't get put out, the firemen are overwhelmed. There'll be trains down, there'll be oil refineries, ports, piers, airports. It's all going to be a wreck. And that's the prophecies in Jeremiah 49, that Iran, which is called Elam back then, Elam, the word Iran doesn't appear in the Bible anywhere, will be a wasteland so bad, devastated by her enemies in the plural, that the people have to evacuate and get scattered into all the nations of the world, where the sword follows them till they're cut off. That's in Jeremiah 49. Iraq had yesterday or last night, yeah, it was yesterday, a very large sandstorm, where it looks red from the sand or some stuff like that. And I put pictures on my Telegram, a picture, and 2,000 people suffocated from this. It's very unusual. I would say it falls under the continuing whirlwind of the Lord falling on the head of the wicked until it accomplishes what he wants. And they had to close their airports and stuff too. Not anything with 2,000 people injured from suffocation. They may not be all dead, but they were injured from suffocation. This is not an everyday occurrence. There's increased surveillance on North Korea now with military aircraft. The thought is North Korea is getting ready to test another bomb, or it could be they're getting ready to invade South Korea. I don't know, but there's not a lot. There's some unusual surveillance activity being conducted against North Korea last night and yesterday. And there were also America's conducting surveillance in the Gulf of America, formerly Gulf of Mexico. Venezuela and Cuba come to mind. And I don't know what it is. And it may be nothing. They're just conducting surveillance, so we don't know. A NATO general, high-ranking guy in NATO, says that there's a substantial threat to the internet cables being cut and then massive internet blackouts around the world. Now, I'm telling you, I think that's eventually going to happen. The Houthis can cut them. Russia, China, Iran. I mean, they're very vulnerable. So America's bombing in Yemen is eventually going to take hold. And you'll see Yemen not able to launch missiles for a day or two or three at a time, and then they'll get a launch, and then they won't for a few more days, and then they won't launch for a week and 10 days. And that's how we did it with Hamas. They will prevail if they keep the bombing up, and there are every indication they're going to keep the bombing up. Now, they were pushing for a Hamas-Israel ceasefire, because if there was a ceasefire in Hamas, then Yemen would stop launching missiles at the warships of America and other maritime vessels like they did in the past. But the deal was blown to kingdom come. It's not going anywhere. It was involving Hamas wanted Israel to just pull back completely out of Gaza, and then we would get hostages back, basically drips and drabs. And they wanted foreign countries to come in and make sure they kept troops in there to guarantee that Israel would not ever break through and enter that area. And boots on the ground could help things in Yemen, but the death toll would be rather high. Yemen would welcome it because it would give them a chance to engage in direct on-the-ground combat with America, and they would have very, very bad losses because of American air support and armor, but they would also take out a lot of Americans, and they'd love it. And what if that happens and they could get hostages from American soldiers? Look what they did to Israel with Hamas and Gaza with the hostages. It's going on for more than 18 months now. They do it to Trump. What's Trump going to do? Let's say they had 50 soldiers as hostages, and then Trump's going to turn around and say, well, we don't negotiate with hostages, so if you're going to kill them, I assure you we're going to kill you. That's not going to work. You know what might work? They don't do it anymore. Golda Meir did this. You find the families of these hostages, and you kidnap the families, the wife, the children, the parents, brothers, sisters, and you get them online with the guys that took the hostages, and you show them that they're taken hostage, and you hold a gun to their head, and you say, if we don't get the hostages back, we're going to start killing your family member one a day. But they won't do that. But would that work? Maybe. They're so crazy it may not work. You want to martyr my parents? Go ahead. They'll be right in paradise. My dad will have his 70 virgins immediately. You know, that might not even work. You're dealing with people that belong in a hospital for the criminally insane. That's it. You got to understand that. So what's going to happen in Gaza with Hamas? Israel's going to keep bombing them. If they kill the hostages, Israel's going to flatten Gaza. Okay? If they start assassinating the hostages every day, Israel's going to do horrific damage to them. So they don't know what to do. That's the reality. Israel doesn't know what to do because they got the hostages in the tunnels and underground facilities with them, and if we flatten them, they kill the hostages. That could cause Netanyahu to get thrown out of office as a vote of no confidence. It's dangerous for him. Israel doesn't want that. So what the heck does Netanyahu do? He does what he's doing. He's treading water. It's not going anywhere. It's not going anywhere. It's also a stalemate. These stalemates are going to continue until Father God Jehovah knows what the right time is for everything to go off, and then it will. A lot of stuff is going to happen on one day called the Day of Vengeance. A lot of stuff. When is Elijah going to appear? I don't know. Soon. I mean, real soon, but I can't give it a day. It'll start. I think he starts working before the Day of Vengeance to get the people ready, or some of the people ready. It's going to come. It all comes. That's in Malachi 3. So what's going on with America? What's another reason Trump is so worried? Because Iran has weird ships disguised as container ships flagged in other countries. And they could get these ships close to America and launch missiles off these ships because these containers are really disguised missile launchers. And they might have 100 containers on the ship or more full of missiles. And then they have drones in the hull. America has very effective anti-missile systems. The THAAD and the Patriot, don't kid yourself, they are effective. But where are they other than being in foreign bases around the world? Well, they're probably around Washington, D.C., and they're probably around missile bases, American military bases, and other strategic locations like plants making weapons and planes and tanks and things like that. But do they have them around the coasts of America to stop incoming missiles from the sea? No. The cities are a sitting duck. Israel has them all over the country. We have the Iron Dome. We have the David Sling and the Arrow too. They're all for different type of missiles. Iron Dome, short range mostly. And we also take down drones with these missiles, and we take down drones with helicopters and aircraft. And America will too. But that's another vulnerability that Trump has to deal with. Because he knows if he starts a war with Iran and Iran starts slinging missiles into the East Coast and the West Coast and through the Gulf of Mexico and stuff like that, hitting cities and schools and stuff like that, they'll impeach him. His own party will turn on him. So Trump's got to balance that. They're already talking about impeaching him over tariffs. And, Trump's tough and he's resilient, but there's a conflict of interest. He wants to build his empire up, just like Elon Musk does. Elon Musk wants to get out of government work now and get back to his own companies, which are doing badly. Trump could find another one. It's not a problem. While Elon Musk may have an intuitive talent in this area, there's other people that can do it also, I'm rather sure. When does Trump get frustrated with Iran? Well, when you start seeing Iran push him harder, he'll get frustrated. The only thing that he can do is wipe out Iran's infrastructure and much of their above ground military and their oil refineries and their pipelines and natural gas and all that, and destroy the country. And that the Iranians know that. That's the stalemate. They would never be able to rebuild it. They would be over for them. And that's the way I see it ending. And Netanyahu is, so, the position is this. They got hundreds of thousands of missiles. And if we don't attack them and you don't attack them, they're going to build big, long, over the horizon radar and kill us one day. And the reality is Trump is worried about America and not so much Israel, not so much Ukraine. But if Trump doesn't destroy Israel, BRICS will grow with Russia and destroy America, the dollar, the economy. And Trump is 101% aware of this, but putting 100% tariffs on the people that go into BRICS and support this anti-dollar, anti-euro sale of oil and other goods, it may not work. His sanctions are just getting retaliatory sanctions. That's why he's switching to product line sanctions, like cars, pharmaceuticals, semiconductor chips he's going to go after. He's not going after countries, he's going after product lines. Smart. It's a smart move, no doubt about it. It's a smart move. Takes the heat off. Canada didn't back off. Mexico didn't back off. He's postponing the sanctions on them, postponing sanctions on Europe. See, the Iranians look at this and they see Trump as weak. He is. He's confused. When it comes to money and economy, he's not confused. He's smart. He's not a warrior. He doesn't get it with the war. I don't think he's really aware of all the trouble he's going to get from Iran in the coming days and weeks because they see weakness. They see him as a bluffer. With the tariffs, with them, with Hamas. Hamas just, rejected all his dialogue about, ceasefires and stuff like that. They don't care about him. All Hamas wants to do is get Israel out of Gaza and smuggle more weapons in from Egypt. And then the next thing and they want an international peacekeeping force to make sure Israel does nothing. Like when the weapons start getting smuggled in, they don't want to see Israel blowing up the weapons. So they need an international force there to make sure they can keep attacking Israel and keep getting weapons from Iran and all that. And they want to build an airstrip and a pier so Iran could bring in weapons galore to them. So if we leave Gaza and then they start building an airstrip and we bomb it, we would have an international peacekeeping force there to stop us under threat of attacking our country from, so we couldn't stop them from building an airstrip, which would take 2 months, 3 months, and then they have cargo planes coming every day from Iran. IRGC soldiers there teaching them how to launch these missiles. We know this, but people in the world don't know this. People in the world don't really understand. They started October 7th. They don't understand. We don't want to stop the war because they're keeping the hostages. People don't understand keeping civilian hostages is against international law, but nobody invokes international law against them. Attacking civilian structures in Israel repeatedly many, many dozens or hundreds of times is against international law, but nobody wants to talk about that. They hate Israel. All the nations hate Israel. We're not dumb enough to just evacuate Gaza so they could keep attacking us, but we would stop attacking them if we had assurances they weren't going to rise up again and attack us in 2 weeks or a month. So we want them demilitarized, and we want the Hamas people out of Gaza. So Syria moved into Lebanon, and Trump's apparently quite okay with it. Netanyahu's really upset because they threatened to wipe us off the map. Turkey does. Turkey is in Psalm 83. It's the Hittites. That's Turkey. And that's keeping Iran out. And that's why Trump is allowing Turkey to do that, because it stops Iran from ever making any kind of move of getting back into Syria. There's a lot of moving parts going on here. A lot. Trump has to worry about getting embedded in a war in the Middle East, and then Russia expands the war in Europe, hits you Romania, Poland, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Denmark, Sweden, Norway, take your pick, along with Belarus, plus keeps attacking Ukraine. The ceasefires aren't working. You can count on that. Wars are coming. Wars are on the way, guys. Jeremiah 30, verse 11 is on the way. BRICS now is in the 20s on the countries. They're in the 20s, something like that. Around 20 or in the 20s. And they're not going to just trade oil and natural gas off the US dollar and off the euro. They're going to trade, cotton and rice and corn and anything and everything. Soybeans, orange juice, everything. And there's no sanctions enforcement because they're not using the SWIFT money transfer system. They can't confiscate their money or freeze it or do anything like that. You can't do it. So it's a real problem that Trump is dealing with. He can deal with it, okay? Trump, if anybody can do it, Trump can. But he's learning tariffs are not the way of doing it. But he did show force with Yemen, and Yemen can't do anything to America. But Iran knows that Trump did do it to Yemen, but they also know Yemen is 10% got the power of Iran. So it's easy to be a tough guy with Yemen. Try being a tough guy with Iran. It's a lot harder, especially if Russia and China give Iran advanced weapons, which they more than likely would do. Although Russia, look at their show in Ukraine, they're not doing that good. So, but more advanced weapons might be better than what Iran has now, and that can make the problem more profound. And Trump is basically, balancing fear and greed. And he's trying to find his way. I think he's going to hit Iran soon. Now, Israel might hit Iran on their own. Israel got to take care of those missile cities. Now, Israel may find a solution for that. What the heck that solution is, I don't know. The sponge bombs blocking the entrances and exits, I don't know. I don't know. Israel doesn't have any planes that can carry super heavy bombs. So that's not going to happen. Well, we got cargo planes, but I mean, bombers that we don't have. Israel might come up with some sort of a unique way of dealing with it, like dropping some thermal type device on the mountain that causes fires and intense heat and, destroys the mountain, melts everything. I'm not saying they have that. I never heard that, but they're going to probably come up with some unique, never heard of before solution for that. What that is, I have no idea. Can you do it? I have no idea. If anybody can do it, it would be America and Israel, and I'm sure they're working together on it. We got to wait and see. So prophecy's being fulfilled. Relax. The siege on Israel in Zechariah 12 is pretty much in place. You got Lebanon, you got Gaza, you got Yemen, you got Egypt, you got Saudi Arabia, and we're waiting for Turkey and Jordan to join in the fracas, and Iraq is in the fracas, and Iran. And the siege is surrounding an attack from the surrounding of the country, and that's what the siege is. It's not a blockade. And we got that. We're not under invasion, we're under siege, and there's more countries that need to come in. I think maybe the siege goes off without Jordan and Saudi Arabia in it. It could happen. So we could have it any day now. You can't say, well, it has to be, but I think it needs Jordan and Saudi to get in Iraq and Syria and them to get more active. That's my hunch. I could be wrong. But it does say surrounding us on the right hand and the left hand. So we're waiting for the two witnesses that burn the enemies up in the siege, and that's found in Zechariah 12, verse 6. So I'm Moshe. Please pray for me and my wife. Pray for our peace, safety, protection, joy, healing of our bodies. Pray for our finances. Pray for our animals and pets that are all rescues, parrots and dogs. They're all rescues. They'd be happy, healthy, and whole. Remember to pray for Molly the cat to come home safe and sound. And pray for better videos. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. And you might want to subscribe because stuff's going to break loose, and you might want to get my updates on live streams or whatever, but that's up to you. And you could subscribe, and if you don't like it in a week, unsubscribe. But these are critical days, and you're going to get a lot of the news from me before you're going to get it on the big stations, usually a half a day or a day. And you're going to get real Bible prophecy from me, not people just belly aching, Gog and Magog, Ezekiel 38 and 39. That's not happening now. And I send my shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach. And I hope you got something out of this, and I'm out.